In the heart of the Galactic Empire, a grand event was taking place. The Emperor, a tall figure dressed in ornate robes, stood proudly on a large stage. His voice boomed across the great hall, filled with alien dignitaries and soldiers from various worlds. They had come to hear the Emperor speak, to celebrate the Empire's power, and to witness a show of strength. "Look at our might!" the Emperor proclaimed, raising his arms high. "No species can challenge us. We have crushed all who dared to oppose us. And look at the humans," he sneered, his eyes glinting with arrogance. "They are nothing but a weak, primitive race. They cannot fight. They have no place in our galaxy." Laughter erupted from the crowd. Aliens of all shapes and sizes joined in, mocking the humans. Some were tall with green skin, others were small and blue, but they all shared a single belief. The Empire was unbeatable. The Emperor's words stung like a sharp blade. In the back of the hall, a group of humans listened in silence. They felt their faces burn with shame and anger. Among the humans stood a brave leader named Sarah. She was a fierce woman with long brown hair and fierce determination in her green eyes. Sarah felt a fire growing inside her as she listened to the Emperor. She glanced at her fellow humans, who looked just as hurt and angry. "We cannot let him speak to us like this," she thought. But what could they do? They were just a small group in a vast galaxy. As the Emperor continued to boast, Sarah's heart raced. She knew something had to change. Suddenly, a wild thought entered her mind. What if she stood up to the Emperor? The idea scared her, but she felt she had no choice. The humans could not be seen as weak any longer. Just as the Emperor finished his speech, Sarah took a deep breath. She stood up, her hands shaking slightly, and shouted, "You are wrong! Humans are strong! We will not be treated like this!" The hall fell silent. Everyone turned to look at her in shock. How could a human speak to the Emperor like that? The Emperor narrowed his eyes, his expression turning from amusement to fury. "How dare you speak to me?" he yelled, his voice echoing through the hall. "You are nothing. I will crush you and your kind." But Sarah felt brave. With the eyes of the entire hall on her, she walked boldly toward the stage. "You do not scare us. We have fought for our freedom before, and we will do it again." Then, in a moment that would change everything, Sarah raised her hand and slapped the Emperor across the face with all her strength. The sound echoed in the hall like thunder. Gasps filled the air. The crowd was stunned into silence, unable to believe what they had just seen. The Emperor's face turned bright red, a mix of shock and anger. He stumbled back, staring at Sarah in disbelief. "You will pay for this insult!" he shouted, his voice shaking with rage. But Sarah stood her ground, defiance shining in her eyes. "You have disrespected us for too long," she shouted back. "This ends now! We are no longer your subjects. We are your equals." The audience, still in shock, began to whisper among themselves. Some were frightened, while others were inspired by Sarah's courage. As the Emperor regained his composure, he realized that the situation was spiraling out of control. He could not show weakness, especially not in front of so many witnesses. "Guards! Seize her!" he commanded, but his voice trembled slightly. The guards hesitated. They had never seen anyone stand up to the Emperor like this. Slowly, some began to step forward, while others remained frozen in place, unsure of what to do. The atmosphere in the hall shifted from one of blind loyalty to confusion and doubt. In that moment, Sarah's act of bravery ignited a spark of hope in the hearts of humans everywhere. They were no longer willing to be pushed around. The Emperor's laughter faded, replaced by fear. He realized he had awakened something powerful within the humans, and he knew the Empire might not be as invincible as he once thought. As Sarah faced the Emperor, she felt the weight of every human watching her. This was just the beginning. The fight for their dignity had begun, and the Empire would soon learn that humans would no longer accept their tyranny. After Sarah's bold act in the Grand Hall, the news of her slap spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Every human felt the shockwaves of that moment. The Emperor of the Galactic Empire had been humiliated, and now he was angry. He wanted revenge, and he would stop at nothing to teach the humans a lesson. But the humans were ready. They were no longer afraid. Back on Earth, in a secret bunker hidden deep in the mountains, leaders from all over the world gathered. They were serious and determined, knowing they had to work together. Sarah was there, standing at the front of the room. Her heart raced, but she felt stronger than ever. She knew this was their moment to unite. "Listen up!" Sarah said, her voice steady and loud. "The Empire thinks we are weak, but we have the spirit of warriors. They will attack us, but we will fight back. We have to prepare. We cannot let them take our home." The room erupted with cheers and claps. Everyone felt the energy rising. They were no longer just individuals, they were part of something much bigger. Sarah laid out a plan to strengthen their defenses. They had to build weapons, train soldiers, and gather information on the Empire's tactics. In the weeks that followed, humans worked day and night. Factories began producing weapons faster than ever. Engineers designed new technology, while scientists created powerful tools to help in the fight. People of all ages joined the army, ready to defend their planet. Sarah became a symbol of hope. She visited different parts of the world, speaking to crowds. "We are strong! We are brave! We are united!" she would shout. People cheered, their faces filled with determination. They were ready to defend their freedom at all costs. Meanwhile, the Galactic Empire was also preparing for war. The Emperor sat on his throne, surrounded by his advisors. His face was twisted in anger as he plotted his revenge. "We will crush them," he said, his voice cold and cruel. "They will pay for their insolence. We will show them who rules this galaxy." He ordered a massive fleet of ships to be sent to Earth. These ships were armed with powerful weapons, ready to destroy anything in their path. The Emperor believed that one swift attack would end the human resistance once and for all. Back on Earth, the humans were gathering intelligence. They hacked into the Empire's communication networks, learning about the fleet's movements. They discovered that the Empire planned to strike within weeks. This news only fueled their determination. "We have to be ready," Sarah said in a meeting with her generals. "We need to know their attack plan. We must use their own technology against them. Let's set up traps and ambushes. We will fight smart." As the days went by, the humans grew stronger. They trained tirelessly, practicing their combat skills and learning how to work together as a team. They formed units, each with a specific role in the coming battle. Some would defend key locations, while others would go on the offense. Finally, the day came when the Empire's fleet was spotted approaching Earth. The news sent waves of anxiety and excitement through every human heart. They had prepared for this moment, and now it was time to put their plans into action. In a command center deep underground, Sarah and her generals watched as the Empire's ships filled the sky. The sight was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. "This is it," Sarah said, her voice calm but filled with intensity. "We fight for our homes, our families, and our future. Remember, we are not alone. We stand together." The humans activated their defenses, ready to protect their planet. As the Empire's ships moved closer, a strange sense of hope filled the air. They were ready to show the galaxy that humans were not weak, but strong and resilient. The time for talk was over. The battle for Earth was about to begin, and the humans would not back down. They had everything to fight for, and they were determined to win. The Emperor's arrogance had awakened a sleeping giant, and now he would face the consequences of underestimating humanity. The day had finally arrived. The Galactic Empire's massive fleet filled the sky above Earth, a dark shadow looming over the planet. Thousands of ships, each bristling with weapons, hovered ominously. They were here to crush the humans and show them the true power of the Empire. But the humans were ready. They had prepared for this moment, and their hearts burned with determination. In a command center deep underground, Sarah stood with her generals, staring at the screens that displayed images of the enemy fleet. "This is our chance," she said, her voice steady. "We will not let them take our home. We fight for our freedom." The generals nodded, each feeling the weight of the moment. The humans had set up traps and defensive positions all over the planet. They had worked tirelessly to prepare for this battle, and now it was time to put their plans into action. As the Empire's ships began their descent, Sarah issued the command. "All units engage! Show them what we're made of!" The humans launched their first wave of defense. Small fighter jets took to the skies, zooming toward the massive Empire ships. The jets were fast and agile, weaving in and out of the larger vessels. They fired their weapons, striking the Empire ships with precision. Explosions erupted in the air, lighting up the sky. But the Empire's response was swift. Their ships retaliated, firing powerful beams of energy down toward the humans. Several jets were hit, spiraling down in flames. The sight filled Sarah with dread, but she pushed it aside. "We cannot lose hope," she shouted into the comms. "We will fight!" The battle raged on. Humans fought bravely, using every tactic they had practiced. Ground troops launched attacks on the Empire's landing zones, using surprise and teamwork to their advantage. They set up barricades and ambushed enemy soldiers, catching them off guard. The humans were fierce, showing skills that even the Empire had not anticipated. Meanwhile, Sarah coordinated the air and ground attacks from the command center. She watched as her soldiers displayed incredible courage. Every human soldier fought with the spirit of freedom, fueled by the memory of Sarah's bold slap to the Emperor. They knew they were fighting for something greater than themselves. The Empire, however, was not going down without a fight. As their ships took damage, the Emperor grew angrier. He activated his secret weapon, a massive battleship equipped with a doomsday cannon, capable of destroying entire cities in one blast. "Show them the power of the Empire!" he roared, his voice echoing in the command room. The battleship turned its cannon toward the Earth, ready to fire. The humans on the ground saw the beam charging up, and panic spread. "We have to stop it," Sarah yelled. "We cannot let them fire that weapon." In a desperate move, Sarah gathered her best pilots for a suicide mission. They would take their small jets and fly straight into the battleship, aiming to disable the cannon. "It's risky, but we can't let fear hold us back," she said, her voice full of determination. The pilots agreed, knowing it was their only chance. As they soared toward the battleship, the fighters moved with grace and speed. They dodged enemy fire, closing in on their target. Sarah watched from the command center, her heart pounding. "You can do this!" she shouted, holding her breath as the pilots got closer. At the last moment, the pilots fired their missiles, hitting the battleship and causing massive explosions. The cannon misfired, sending a destructive beam into the sky instead of the ground. It was a moment of triumph, and cheers erupted in the command center. But the battle was far from over. The Empire regrouped, furious and desperate to regain control. The skies were filled with fire and smoke as both sides continued to clash. Yet, the humans fought on with an unbreakable spirit, determined to defend their home. As the sun began to set, casting a fiery glow over the battlefield, Sarah felt a surge of hope. The humans were proving their strength. They had shown the Empire that they were not to be underestimated. The battle raged on, but victory was within reach. The Galactic Empire would learn a valuable lesson. Humanity would fight fiercely for their freedom, and they would never surrender. The battle for Earth raged on, and the sounds of war echoed throughout the skies. Despite the bravery of the human soldiers, the Galactic Empire continued to push forward. The Emperor, filled with rage and arrogance, ordered his forces to unleash their full might. The humans were being overwhelmed, but Sarah refused to give up. In the command center, Sarah and her generals analyzed the situation. The screens showed images of their troops struggling against the relentless onslaught of the Empire. "We need a new plan," Sarah said, her brow furrowed with concern. "We cannot fight them head-on any longer. We need to outsmart them." One of her generals, a seasoned strategist named Commander Chen, spoke up. "What if we create a diversion? If we can draw their forces away from key areas, we can launch a surprise attack where they least expect it." Sarah nodded, considering the idea. "That could work. We need to lure them into a trap. Let's split our forces. Some will defend our main positions, while others create chaos in their ranks." The generals agreed, and they quickly set to work. With their new plan in place, Sarah sent out the orders. Small teams of soldiers were dispatched to different locations, ready to create distractions. They set off explosions, fired weapons into the air, and used smoke bombs to obscure the view. The goal was to confuse the Empire and draw their attention away from the humans' main defenses. As the distractions began, the Empire took the bait. Their forces moved to investigate, leaving key areas vulnerable. Sarah watched the screens, her heart racing. "Now! This is our moment!" she yelled. The remaining human soldiers seized the opportunity. They charged forward, launching a surprise attack on the Empire's weakened flanks. The humans moved quickly and decisively, using their knowledge of the terrain to their advantage. They ambushed enemy troops, pushing back the Empire's forces one step at a time. The tide of the battle began to change. The humans fought with renewed energy, and the sound of their victory cries filled the air. For the first time, the Empire seemed to falter. Sarah could hardly believe what she was witnessing. "Keep pushing! We have to keep the momentum!" she shouted, rallying her troops. But the Emperor was not one to accept defeat easily. He ordered his elite guard, a group of fearsome warriors, to the front lines. They were trained to crush any opposition and would stop at nothing to restore the Empire's dominance. As they descended from their ships, the atmosphere shifted. Their presence sent a chill through the humans. Sarah's heart sank as she watched the elite guard approach. They were a force to be reckoned with, and the humans had to be careful. "We can't back down now," she urged her soldiers. "This is our fight." With the battle escalating, Sarah knew they needed a symbol to rally around. She decided to take matters into her own hands. "I will lead the charge against the elite guard," she declared. Her generals looked at her in shock. "Are you sure?" one asked. "It's dangerous." "I have to," Sarah replied, her voice firm. "If we show them that we are not afraid, our soldiers will find the strength to fight back." With her heart racing, Sarah donned her combat gear and grabbed her weapon. She gathered a small group of soldiers and moved toward the front lines, ready to face the elite guard head-on. As they approached, the enemy warriors looked down at them, confident and menacing. "Humans think they can win?" one of the elite guards sneered. "You will all fall today." Sarah raised her weapon, determined to show them the strength of humanity. "We are not afraid," she shouted. "We will fight for our freedom, no matter the cost." With that, the clash began. The humans charged forward, and Sarah fought fiercely, her movements fueled by a mix of adrenaline and the will to protect her home. She took down one enemy after another, her determination inspiring those around her. The battle had reached a critical turning point. As the humans fought back against the elite guard, their courage began to spread like wildfire. More soldiers joined the fight, rallying around Sarah as she pushed deeper into the enemy lines. The tide was shifting. The Empire was losing ground. And for the first time, the humans felt the power of their unity. They were not just fighting for survival anymore, they were fighting for their freedom, their home, and each other. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden glow over the battlefield, hope blossomed in the hearts of the humans. They had turned the tide against the Galactic Empire, and the Emperor would soon realize that underestimating humanity would be his greatest mistake. The battle was far from over, but now they had the strength to win. As the first light of dawn broke over the battlefield, the air was thick with the smell of smoke and burnt metal. The sounds of war had quieted, replaced by a tense silence. The Galactic Empire's once mighty fleet had suffered heavy losses, and the humans stood at the brink of victory. But Sarah knew that the battle was not yet over. In the command center, the mood was electric. Soldiers and generals alike exchanged glances filled with hope. "We did it!" one soldier exclaimed, a grin spreading across his face. "We pushed them back." Sarah felt a surge of pride. Her heart swelled as she looked at her team, realizing they had come together to defend their home against all odds. However, they could not celebrate just yet. The Emperor, infuriated by his losses, had retreated to his flagship. Rumors swirled that he was planning one last desperate attack, something that could devastate the Earth if they did not act quickly. Sarah understood they had to finish this fight once and for all. "Prepare the fleet for a counterattack," Sarah ordered, her voice steady and commanding. "We need to take the fight to them. We cannot let the Emperor regroup." The generals nodded, quickly mobilizing their forces. The humans were ready to seize the moment and put an end to the Emperor's tyranny. As the human fleet rose into the sky, the feeling of unity and purpose was palpable. Sarah stood on the bridge of her ship, her heart racing. She could see the enemy flagship in the distance, dark and foreboding. "This is our chance," she said, rallying her crew. "We have fought hard for our freedom, and we will not back down now." The ships approached the Emperor's flagship, and the tension in the air grew thicker. The crew prepared their weapons, the hum of energy filling the ship. "Steady!" Sarah commanded as they closed in. She knew this battle would determine the fate of Earth and humanity. Suddenly, the Emperor's ship opened fire, beams of energy slicing through the air. The humans returned fire, their weapons lighting up the darkness. The battle began anew, fierce and chaotic. Sarah felt the ship shudder as it took hits, but she refused to show fear. "Focus on their engines!" she yelled. "If we can disable them, we can board the flagship." The crew worked together, targeting the weak points of the enemy ship. One by one, the energy blasts found their marks, and the Emperor's flagship began to falter. As the battle raged, Sarah and her team devised a bold plan. They would launch a boarding party to infiltrate the flagship and confront the Emperor directly. "This is it," Sarah said, determination etched on her face. "We take the fight to him. We end this once and for all." With a battle cry, Sarah led the charge onto the enemy ship. The humans fought their way through the corridors, using their knowledge of tactics and teamwork. They faced fierce resistance, but the spirit of freedom drove them forward. They could not afford to fail now. As they reached the heart of the flagship, they burst into the Emperor's command room. The sight was intimidating. Imperial officers scrambled in panic, and the Emperor stood at the center, his face twisted with rage. "You dare invade my ship?" he roared, his voice booming. Sarah stepped forward, unyielding. "We are here to end your reign of terror," she declared. "You will not destroy our home or our people." The Emperor laughed, a cruel sound that echoed in the room. "You think you can defeat me? I am the most powerful ruler in the galaxy!" But Sarah remained resolute. "Your power comes from fear and oppression. We are fighting for freedom, and we will not back down." With that, the final battle began. The humans clashed with the Emperor's guards, fighting fiercely. In the chaos, Sarah found herself face to face with the Emperor. He was formidable, but she stood her ground. "This ends now!" she shouted, launching herself at him. Their battle was intense, each strike filled with the weight of their cause. Sarah felt the energy of her comrades behind her, fueling her strength. Finally, with a swift maneuver, she disarmed the Emperor, his weapon clattering to the ground. With a final push, Sarah knocked him to the floor. Breathing heavily, she stood over him, her heart pounding. "It's time to end your tyranny," she declared. "You will face justice for your actions." The Emperor's face twisted in defeat as he realized his power was shattered. The humans had triumphed. As the news of their victory spread throughout the fleet, cheers erupted in the command center. The Empire was crumbling, and humanity had proven its strength. As dawn broke fully over the horizon, casting a warm glow over the battlefield, Sarah stood with her comrades, feeling the weight of their victory. They had fought not just for survival, but for a future where they could be free. The war was over, but the journey of rebuilding had just begun. Together, they would forge a new dawn for Earth, a dawn of hope, unity, and freedom. Humanity had stood strong against the Galactic Empire, and now they would lead their world into a bright future, one filled with endless possibilities.